Um, there we go. And so that we can get together to close up August. It's been an interesting month here, but I'm glad that we can come together and speak a little bit more about Solar Austin. We thought this was a little bit of a unique topic since it's been a while, and we've had some changes in the organization that are worthwhile talking about. A lot of ambitions for the next year, but also it's a moment of gratitude and to look back into how far the organization has come. So really appreciate you guys tuning in. Hope you guys have your drink in hand and we can talk a little bit more about Solar Austin and how you can get involved, any ideas that you have. But I think that we can begin by thanking our sponsors this time. So if we see right now, we're thinking FTC Solar, you know, they're one of our stellar sponsors, helping out with interns and donations. Same goes for Recurrent, Yada Energy, which is pioneering storage underneath panels, so panel level storage and inversion. Mayfield Renewables, it does solar design and engineering. Orsted is another megawatt developer, and they are a developer, megawatt sponsor, and they are a developer of wind and solar farms, including the largest solar and storage farm in Texas, actually. Then there's Downtown Austin Alliance, keeping our streets clean and our downtown of Austin nice and attractive. And then we have Freedom Solar, which has been a faithful supporter of installations and of the organization. Our kilowatt sponsors include PowerFin, also Hush and Blackwell, it's a law firm, Z Prime that does education and augmented reality. And then They Might Be Monkeys, which are tree and landscape, tree cutters and landscape companies. And then there's HEB, which we all know and love. Also in the kilowatt sponsor range, there's Pipermatics, which is a solar and renewable energy recruitment firm. So in case you're looking for a job, you should definitely get in touch with them. They have a lot of postings on EVs and storage and solar. CD Green Tech and Sunpro. CD Green Tech is a solar distributor and Sunpro is a residential solar installer, as well as Lighthouse Solar, which Stan over here is joining us from Lighthouse as well. Also in our what sponsors, we have Greenbelt Solar, another local solar installer, Clean Power Marketing that has been very big help with our Pathways program, as well as some marketing needs. The Deere Group and Greener by Design, which help with solar design, as well as Harris Energy Solutions, led by Jessica Harris, who will speak a little bit later, and Greenhawk Business Services, an accounting company that can support your accounting needs. If you'd also like to be a donor or a sponsor, we are participating right now in what is called a Community Thrives initiative, and that's put on by the Gannett Foundation, which is the owners of USA Today. So we were able to participate in a nationwide competition to receive additional funds if we meet our goals. So there's a link over there, and we can post one in the chat as well. But we do this every year, and this is one of our biggest pushes for fundraising. Let's see. But now I think that we can spend a little bit more time speaking about, you know, Solar Austin. So you guys know, if you've participated in our happy hours before, you know that we are almost a 20-year-old 501c3 organization that has been helping push for greater adoption of solar across Central Texas, not just in Austin. And we've also expanded a little bit more to emphasize on the education component. I think it's really important for all of us to be aware about what solar is, what it entails installing it, but most importantly, how it can help reduce the greenhouse gas emissions and keep up with our carbon neutrality goals in the city. We've come a long way in 20 years for a small team of mostly volunteers. And I think that that's why today we want to feature a little bit of those founding members and those founding voices that 20 years ago they had this genius idea of talking about solar and making something about and doing something about it. So Mike Sloan will be speaking today. He was one of the original founders and will be sharing with us a little bit about what the solar energy or solar paradigm was like in Austin back in the day, how these ideas came together, and also, you know, what were some of the major achievements of the organization back then. And it's important to be grateful because of these pioneers were able to be here with you guys amidst COVID and speak about this. So without further ado, I want to pass off the mic to Mike, so that we can hear a little bit more about what it was like, and really appreciate your time, Mike, for joining us and telling your story.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be back, share about things back in the day. I'll just talk off what I see here on the notes in front of me, but it was a pretty small group that really got this kicked off. And I'll say this is a little bit of my resume here, but I will point out, I think one of the things that was unusual about me is I was an advocate, but I also had an engineering background. So I was sort of like a technical guy, and that helped at the time we were doing this. I was sort of the numbers guy, but worked very closely with particularly Public Citizen and Smitty in that organization to do quite a few things over the years. I'll get right into it here, the origins of Solar Austin. And I'm going to talk about sort of two things in that yellow box there. What an organization strives to do, it's important, you look at the opportunities that are in front of you, and that's a function of the context and timing and relationships you have. And you might want to need to take advantage of the relationships you already have and try to build new ones that are going to be important to you. But it's really important to recognize the timing, or there's certain events going on that you can take advantage of. And I think we just, in 2003, this all came together. It turned out to be a great time to really try to push Austin Energy to try to do more with solar and renewable energy. But your success, it is going to be a function. And for those math people out there, I don't use function equations very often, about 20 years ago, maybe the last time, but I thought I'd use them here since I said I went to engineering school. So anyway, inside the F open parent, you got to have an idea. And then you got to have the conviction to push that through, and funding helps, make it happen. We were very light on funding, but still we were able to put it together and make it happen. So we had this really key relationship between Public Citizen and my private consulting firm, Vertus Energy. And that dated back to some earlier projects. And so there's four I want to sort of feature here, but one of them was a Texas Public Utility Commission project where the largest utility in Texas, in Dallas, TXU Electric, they wanted to build more coal plants and gas plants. And Smitty hired me, Public Citizen hired me as an expert witness, because again, I had the engineering degree, to be the renewable energy expert. And he paid me $500. And I think I didn't work more than about 300 hours on it. So it was almost $2 an hour, which back in that day was really good money for solar. Fortunately, things have changed. But there was no money, nothing going on in renewables 20 or 30 years ago. Then a few years later, there was a Sustainable Energy Development Council, developed a whole lot of reports. That was a statewide effort. I was in charge of doing a comprehensive assessment of all renewable energy in the state of Texas. And sort of that helped open up a lot of doors, where I then became chairman of the Texas Solar Energy Society. Through that, I got on this group called the Sustainable Energy Task Force. I ended up becoming the chairman of that group. And that was the group back in 97, 98 that really promoted the idea of green choice and the initial city RPS. And I want to point out the challenge to us at that time. Austin Energy wasn't even formed yet. A lot of people don't know this, but at this era, there were two different utilities in the city of Austin. There was an electric utility department. And actually in the 80s, when I was in grad school, I actually worked there as a research analyst in renewable energy. But there was also a separate entity that only dealt with energy efficiency. There was a separate energy efficiency utility. That's where the green building program came from and all the efficiency programs. Then they combined the two as Austin Energy right about this time. But the cultures couldn't be more different. One had all big power plants. They like to burn stuff. The other was the efficiency guys. So They came together. It was very hard getting it to move off of less than 1% renewable. They said, come up with a plan how to make Austin fully sustainable, 100% sustainable energy, but we don't have any funding for you. So the only thing you could do was a voluntary program like Green Choice. That was the genesis of the Green Choice program, even though it took many years before it actually came out, but that's where it started. Then a few years later, Smitty and I, again, with a bunch of other folks, we worked in something called the Texas Renewable Power Coalition. That was environmental groups and industry coming together to work on the Texas RPS legislation. And that created a great deal of success for the wind power industry. So it was really out of that background that Solar Austin was formed, because we had all this success in the state and in the wind industry. And so some of my friends in the solar power industry, they're saying, Mike, let's try to get something going with solar in Texas. And when you look at it, Texas is such a tough nut to crack because it is so cost focused. You know, nobody wanted to do solar because solar was a lot more expensive than wind. But when we looked at it, talked to Smitty, it's like, you know, we need to just start in Austin only because they have different drivers, and we should be able to open up the solar market in Texas by starting in Austin. So then go to the next slide. That's where we got started. And so one of the things that we did is started with bringing sort of our group together. We actually went out to San Francisco, and it was Smitty and Karen Haddon with Public Citizen and Seed Coalition, and then Vertus Energy, my firm. We went out there. I think Pete Altman from Seed may also have gone. We talked about it with Dane Sugar. Some of you know him. He had a company, Powerlight, then. We came up with some ideas of what to push for. We came back, and I think it was a great idea that we decided just to start with our cycle of elections in Austin, because Austin Energy is a municipally owned utility. They are governed by city council. So the city council is essentially the board of directors of Austin Energy. And we were able to convince the candidates running that that really was part of their job. They were the board of directors of Austin Energy. And this was a very powerful graphic that I used in presentation. But basically, the price of renewables and solar were dropping. Conventional energy prices were going up. There's a crossover point. You need to decide to start doing solar before that crossover point if you want to be a leader and really, you know, capture the benefits of early investment. So this was another sort of ingenious thing in retrospect. We just educated candidates, gave them information. But then a few weeks later, we set up an energy forum where we invited candidates to come to speak to people from the community to answer questions. Well, they show up and the information they have is all the stuff we just fed them. So, you know, they're basically using our information to talk to people from the public to try to win votes. A lot of the people that came to our educational forum ended up winning. So then go to the next slide. So anyway, we started this long-term campaign through the year because there was going to be a strategic plan that city council was going to vote on at the end of the year. This all happened in 2003. And we came up with some educational guidance, and it was, Smitty sort of has this rule of three. Two's not enough, four's too many, 3 points. So 3 clear asks. And that was, we wanted to raise the city RPS from 5% to 30% and just dedicate 2% of funding to solar, and then bundle it with efficiency to make it cheaper. And why are we going to do this? Because it's cheaper overall, cleaner, it's going to create jobs. That was a very convincing, simplistic message. It resonated well. And so the city council members and mayor really got on board with this. Next. One of the things we had, and quite frankly, this is one of the reasons I was involved. You know, it's important to have people that are going to benefit from the industry and actually put this stuff in. But we had this big inspiring project, which was 5 megawatt solar covered parking at the Austin airport. That was a a proposal that Group Power Light had presented to the city. They would love to see it go through. At the time, this would have been the largest solar power plant in the world. And it was endorsed by Solar Austin. It was liked by City Council, but Austin Energy didn't want to do it. Now, I'll say for some of you that know the Big Sun Community Solar program in San Antonio right now, there's certain elements that look a lot like this. It's covered parking. You were going to make a lot of revenue off people parking that helps subsidize, if you will, the solar. Especially at the airport, it could have paid a lot to justify a lot of solar. Even back then, that was $8 a watt solar, and it would have been cost effective back then if it had worked out. It didn't. So anyway, going on to the next. We pushed to the end. We basically had a public pressure campaign. We were sending, getting people to send in messages to City Council. And we were working with Austin Energy, keeping them informed the whole way, but letting them know, hey, we are bringing public pressure. This is going to be cover for you to do something big and bold. City Council, this is something cover for you to do something big and bold. And we had these strong asks of council that we spelled out here. We had a town hall meeting that was right before the City Council vote on the strategic plan. Now, Austin Energy, again, they were sort of feeling the pressure. And I'll say, we were set up, we were going to sort of lay out some aggressive things there. There were a lot of people that weren't satisfied with what was being offered and how it was progressing. But at that meeting, Austin Energy got up first and said they were going to do a bunch of great stuff. They were going to up their city RPS and have a solar rebate program. Basically, that they had not been a leader in solar. They had been a leader in efficiency. They had been a leader in green building. They had not been a leader in solar, but they would become a leader in solar. And so that sort of diffused the momentum we had at that meeting. We still got some stuff, but when they went into the council resolution, which we saw just a few minutes, literally like 20 minutes before the council meeting started, it was all predicated on solar being cost effective. They didn't feature that at this particular town hall meeting. And so sometimes that can totally drain any sort of momentum or action when people do that. So next slide. These are some slides from that town hall meeting, but can you back up? Yeah, I want to feature this. So this is where we got to where the one on the right, the guy in the white shirt, that is the mayor. He was emceeing our event. So this shows you, we targeted relationships with these folks. He is de facto the chairman of the board of Austin Energy, and he's there sort of fully engaged, sort of pushing and wanting to hear from the public about these issues. So, it really was effective in building relationships with the right people. And we were able to get, the solar rebate program started, a big increase in the RPS. We didn't get everything we wanted. I would have loved to have seen a lot more for commercial solar, which didn't happen. There were still, it was sort of like a half a loaf solution, but it still was a big improvement where they had been in the past. They still were reluctant to really come out very strong on future funding, which is always a centerpiece of, making it work. So next, a few more slides. That's Brewster Mccracken. He now runs the Con Street project. He's a council member who really embraced our agenda as well. Next. And so anyway, the following year in 2004, Solar Austin campaign got selected as the best grassroots effort by the Austin Chronicle. So Smitty, for those of you that don't know him, he's the guy in the hat above the O in org. That's his wife, Karen Haddon. Next to him, my wife, Susan Sloan, is in the green shirt on the front row next to Smitty. I'm at the very back, and David Foster, who is an environmentalist, he's on the other side. And Susan, my wife, and David Foster, when they started in 2004, it started to get more organized. It was just an ad hoc thing in 2003. It came together in more of a formal organization. That's when it really got founded as an organization. And so they were I think some of the first chairs, they were co-chairs, I believe, is David Foster and Susan. But anyway, that's the early days, and it it produced a lot of results. I think it was really a testament to sort of coming up with a plan, deciding what we were going to go for, working it real hard, and getting results. And that's what kicked off Solar Austin, has been going ever since.
Yeah, man, that's an amazing story, Mike. And thanks so much for the pictures. I think that it's always good to dig up the archives and see what life was like over there. And even having the mayor on your side is pretty amazing, you know, especially for a group of 10 people, just passionate individuals with the relationships and how you made that happen. And you guys are visionaries, you know, that project of the airport, like Matt mentioned in the chat, you know, it took 15 years, but it happened. And it's something you guys were asking for, to put, you know, to make use of this parking lot and do a solar facility out of there. So it's, we wouldn't be here without you guys. So I really want to thank you, and your wife and Smitty and everyone else that just got things done, you know, and even though, like you said, it wasn't a full loaf of bread, you got half of it, but here we are trying to continue making it, and maybe we can build a whole bakery out of it too. You know,
I was going to say, of course, we were looking for a pretty big loaf of bread, right?
Yeah, yeah, but you have to start big, and then afterwards you have to be happy with what you get when you're carving out the path, you know. So I think that's also a little bit of why we want to like invite Tatiana here, and Tatiana is joined our team earlier, 2 months ago maybe. I don't know, time has flown. It was this summer, you know. and she's our executive director, and she's kind of helping us lead to this next iteration, next evolution. So I think it'll be useful for us to speak a little bit more about where Solar Austin is right now, and then delve a little bit deeper into each of our subcommittees and how we've organized from being those 10 people into maybe closer to 15, between 10 and 15. And we're also just focusing on different realms of expanding the solar adoption. You know, so Tatiana, I'll let you speak a little bit more and then kind of guide us a little bit of what's up in for the rest of the happy hour. But amazing to have you here, Mike, and looking forward to finding other opportunities for us to work together more.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will also say, James, I did see your question in the chat for Mike. I think Kaiba just chimed in with an answer. However, if you all have other questions, Mike is going to stick with us. And he, as you all can tell, I stand on the shoulders of giants. I am a product of literal decades of hard work, and I'm so honored to be able to continue the conversation. I think Kaiba may have given an answer, but we'll also have some time for Q&A later. We have a lot to cover. So we wanted to give that history of Solar Austin so that you could see how much thought and strategy and work has gone into what you see today. And I am our inaugural executive director. However, the path, pun very much intended, the pathway has been laid for me in so many different ways. So really, I am at this point, I'm going to talk to you a little bit more later about our Pathways program, welcome some guests, and Juan and I will be sort of co-facilitating the time. You'll hear us maybe even chime in to tell our board members that love to talk about the work they're very passionate about. When they hit their time, we will be chiming in to let them know. But really, this slide, you all have met me, you know me. I wanted to serve as a transition point from Mike sharing a little bit about the history and the blood, sweat, and tears and hard work that went into getting us to where we are. And how do we continue to move the needle for the next 20 years is really what we're going to talk about. So we're really at an inflection point in Solar Austin. We are at a place where we've got some really robust and excellent committees that are going to share more about their work. So rather than me take up airtime talking about what we're going to tell you, we're just going to hop in and let people talk to you. So I believe we're going to hear from our policy committee first off. But first, I want to show you the team that makes up this passionate group. So Mike, it's so fun to see the throwbacks. It made me want to do those like composite boards where it's, you know, like Solar Austin 2003, and then put everybody's headshots next to Solar Austin 2021. But this is who's with us right now. You'll see these people in their little thumbnails as well as in the chat. They literally worked their butts off along with Mike and our founding members so that I even have a role to step into. So You're going to hear from a few tonight. A few of them, they work a little bit more behind the scenes on our fundraising, our marketing, some of the things that don't have as much named forward-facing action. But we also have a volunteer form that I'm going to pop into the chat. Anything you hear tonight, if you are interested in volunteering, we would love to hear from you. So we will share more about what each committee is doing, and I'll hop into that without any further ado. So I believe up first, we have got, solar policy and advocacy with our board president, Kaiba White. So Kaiba, take it away.
Hey, thanks, Tatiana, and thanks, Mike, for that awesome look back at the origination of Solar Austin. I just love hearing about how this all came together, and I'm going to take a little time here on solar policy, because that obviously was very much at the core of Solar Austin when it was created, and is something that we definitely maintain as part of our work and our mission. I think a lot of our other efforts are kind of taking more of our time and attention and resources now, and I think that's a good thing, and it's reflective of the success that we have had on the policy front. But there's always kind of a moving target when it comes to policy, and certainly we have learned that if you look away for a while, something bad might happen, or you might miss a really good opportunity. So we do try to keep our eye on our local utilities, specifically Austin Energy, but also the Pedernales Electric Co-op and the Bluebonnet Electric Co-op that are to the east and the west, and I guess kind of a little bit to the south too, because all of those affect our kind of Austin solar ecosystem here. And, you know, we have just, you don't have to flip back, but I just do want to kind of highlight that our efforts have been especially focused on expanding access to solar as costs have come down. That has, you know, been something that we've seen that we can add into the conversation and really be looking for those kind of next level policies where it's not just that we're expanding solar, but that everybody has the opportunity to benefit. You can switch back. So I'm not going to go through in a lot of detail, but would encourage anybody who is interested in getting involved to reach out. I think Tatiana is going to be sharing a way for folks to sign up to get involved in different ways. But Austin Energy has some exciting things going on, and we have been very much involved in helping to craft these policy changes. Most recently, the commercial and nonprofit solar incentives have been revamped in a way that I think will be really beneficial to increasing commercial solar adoption. Those incentives are going to be slightly more total payout, and it's going to come in 5 years instead of 10, which we understand is really more in the time frame that most businesses are looking at when making financial decisions. And we've also advocated and are happy that Austin Energy is moving forward with enhanced incentives for nonprofits. And we're working on, you're going to hear later of some work that we're doing that is specifically around nonprofit solar. So we're going to continue being engaged in that. I'll say anybody here who's with a solar company, if you offer service contracts, something that we're working on right now is trying to figure out what the right kind of incentive would be for specifically for paying for those service contracts for nonprofits. So reach out if that's something you can help with. You've probably heard me talk about shared solar. Shared solar is a kind of wonky billing solution that is incredibly important for making solar on multifamily properties feasible, make it technically more feasible, and also less expensive, because if you have to create a solar installation for each apartment or each condo, as you can imagine, it's complicated and it adds cost. This billing system update has been many years in the making, and it's kind of a small miracle that it has come through to fruition. And, you know, credit to those at Austin Energy, particularly Tim Harvey, for continuing to push on this project and make sure that it did get completed. Again, anybody connected to multifamily properties that might be interested in solar, starting in the new year, there will be opportunity for new projects to take advantage of this tool, along with incentives that make that possible. I'm not going to go into it, but there's still a lot of work to be done on the kind of community solar side of things. Yes, there's that airport installation, but we need a lot more capacity. There's a waiting list, and we have a lot of rooftops without solar. So we're trying to find ways to make that work. Again, anybody who might have ideas, please get involved. Let's go on to the next slide. So I did want to touch a little on Pedernales Electric Co-op tonight. It's lucky that we're having this event right now and not a couple months ago, because I can be positive about what has happened at PEC. Things started off on a pretty sour note, I would say, kind of at the start of the year, as more of us became aware of what the board kind of did without much fanfare at the end of 2020, namely instituting new rates that would only be applicable to solar customers. And although many of us may support time of use rates, this was done without any study, without any involvement, and it was only for solar customers. And the intention of the time of use rates and the demand charges, and again, this is for residential customers, was specifically to raise bills for solar customers. They were claiming that they were not paying their fair share, but did not really have the data to back that up. So there was a number of allies and solar businesses, customers got together, pushed back. We did a little bit of support on that and getting some emails into board members. And amazingly, PEC did respond, because they actually don't get a lot of input from their membership. And so getting emails, getting people showing up to town hall events and board meetings got their attention, and they realized that they didn't really have what it took to back up this decision, and people were not happy about it. So they did reverse that at the July board meeting, and they're doing a value of solar study. I think that the jury's still out on what that study is going to show, because we're not totally sure what the inputs are, what the consultant is being directed to do, but we're going to keep an eye on that. And you might hear from us if we need to engage again later this fall, when they might take up another change to solar rates. I'm going to leave it there. This list I'm not going to go through, but I just wanted to show it that there are a large number of different accomplishments kind of between what Mike talked about and some of the things that I just talked about. There's many years in there where we have seen all kinds of progress here in the Central Texas area as it relates to solar. And I know that a lot of people have been involved in that. Some of them are on this call, and many others are not. But
thanks, Kaiba. And it's great to think that we started this call thinking about like how solar or Austin Energy wasn't really the only utility company that's focusing on solar, and then here you are talking about how we are making movement and changing a little bit of the process of other electric utilities in the area that are evolving positively based on the work. So appreciate the update over there with the PEC, as well as the opportunity to get involved, because as you say, if we close our eyes or if we look away, then we miss a great opportunity to adopt more solar and make it more accessible to people. So feel free to drop us a note in the survey link or on the chat if you want to work a little bit more with policy and reaching out. Next, we have a little bit about solar education, and that's more of the angle that Jessica Harris leads as to how we can expand the awareness of solar across different ages. So I'll let Jessica take it away. She's created these beautiful slides over here, and so she can showcase a little bit of the work that's being done with kids and with youth, as it's important for people to understand solar from an early age, that It's nothing complex. It's very simple, and it's more simple than coal or other methods of energy production. So thanks, Jessica.
Thanks, Juan. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Good.
Yep, perfect.
Okay, cool. So thanks, Hayuba, for that recap. That's so amazing what you do. I know I particularly joined Solar Austin about 3 years ago. And just to meet this awesome board, it's just been incredible. And being a part of the time where we actually hire an executive director, it's been very, very motivating. And also following what Michael said earlier today, gosh, it's so inspiring to see how far it's come. And I'm so happy to be a part of it. As Juan mentioned, I am the chairman of Solar Austin Education. It's something actually I head up with my energy analyst intern, who's actually aspiring to be a teacher. So I thought it was just like a perfect synergy I had and could help Solar Austin in this effect. As we kind of say here, we do all those sorts of things, from presentations to solar car kits to, I think we actually just did a solar lantern presentation to the Girl Scouts of actually the country. It was amazing. We did that about 2 weeks ago. But not even just K to 12 students, we're also trying to focus on actually adults too. Adults need education in solar, and we're working on developing a fact sheet for that. So kind of just any idea anyone might have, please share it with me. I'll even come meet and sit with you. I just want to make whatever we do better. And then just to kind of recap all we've kind of done over the last year or so, Pflugerville ISD has been really great. They're very interactive with us. Also, Lassa High School, we pretty much has a standing presentation every December with them. It's really, really pretty cool. As I mentioned, the Girl Scouts, we actually also have been attending virtual job fairs. I think that's something, as we're learning and we present, some of the questions I get are, you do this for a living? Like you just work in solar? I'm like, yeah, that's my job. And I think kind of trying to link that, that yes, you could do something different besides the normal typical jobs. And I had a couple people from Solar Austin, the board, put together a video, and we post that in job fairs, which have had really good attendance. It's all virtual, and from like 300 to like 800 people have like seen our video. So I'm just trying to, like, from the beginning, let people know about it. We love the Solar Austin happy hours. Hopefully one day we'll all be together again under normal circumstances. But yeah, we've met and fundraised as much as we can. We've met with the STEM director of the Austin ISD, how we can incorporate solar into their curriculum, after school events, local school outreach. We also are constantly trying to find education grants. And that's actually something I really want to mention. I think I'm on the cusp of getting a pretty decent amount of money to develop a solar car curriculum. This is going to be something that we actually bring to schools, and there'll be something like a set of 30, something that can be used year after year. And we'll develop a curriculum that kind of matches that, something that could be reusable and also like really fun for the kids to do. So I'm hoping that that's within the next month. So really exciting stuff. And I think kind of the whole part, one thing I want to focus is, like, we definitely need volunteers. Anyone interested or have an idea, please share it with me. But thank you so much, guys. So nice to meet all of you.
Yeah, and it's also cool that, working with a little bit closer with Jason, with Z Prime, that we're expanding, the access of using different technologies like virtual reality and augmented reality to teach people about what it's like to be solar and keep it fun. So if you like working with kids, and if you like speaking on whether it's solar cars or just how solar systems work or solar energy, it would be great to collaborate together. So thanks, Jessica, for the good work that you're doing with the youth, both in private and in your personal life, and also with Solar Austin. Up next, we have community installations, and so that's a little bit of the work that Stan is leading, also with Kenneth. And so I'll let these guys take it away, as there's good synergy, and they can explain a little bit about what's up in stock and what's been done before with community installations in Austin.
Hey, thanks, Juan. This is, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. This will be a little bit of a 1-2 punch. I'll go over some things that we've done, and then Kenneth will pick up on some recent activities. But I did want to just acknowledge Mike and Susan, David, Smitty and Karen, everyone else, when I hear that story in a kind of short, condensed version, what's really powerful is that you guys planted a very powerful seed, not so much in Austin Energy, but in the community and in their imagination. And it may have been expressed as a rebate program, but really it was, can we own our destiny? Can we make a change? And what will that look like? That's a long time ago. I think we're still doing that work now. And one thing I've noticed, I've really taken it personally and through Solar Austin to be a steward of, when we plant seeds of what people can imagine, we need to make sure that it's accessible. And this is not just making the technology, solar technology accessible, but it's really saying, is there a world I can live in that makes sense for me? And in Austin, the diversity of our community over time and in present, it's not a simple message to be expressed and give real concrete examples of where this can lead. And so that's all preamble to say that as Solar Austin, we've been looking for ways to make that possible. And the policy work we've done, the education that Jessica spoke to are examples. I say this is another example where we want to make projects that people can participate in, both solar companies through donating equipment, time, experience, labor, professionalism, and volunteers. And then find places in the community that themselves are touchstones of broader communities. Have constituents that would see this activity, see the collective effort, and benefit directly from the installation of an energy system. So that's kind of what has animated this committee. And Kenneth and I have been working on a new project. The first one we did was pre-COVID, ages ago, at the Community First Village. We attracted about 12 companies to participate, put a reasonably sized system on one of their common buildings, and turned it on. And so the Community First Village is receiving the benefits directly, lowers their costs, and frankly, it's become kind of a billboard for their broader commitment to range of sustainable techniques. And we had involvement from some of their neighbors and the people that are working there on site to move that through. And they're now looking at potentially a much larger system as part of their second and third phase build out. So it really is a seed project, but it also seeded in our mind, like what could be done, as a program. So with that, I'll give it to Kenneth. Maybe you can speak kind of in the current day.
Well, welcome everyone. I'd like to follow up when we talk about seeds. It's just not seed; it's the seeds of opportunity and inclusion that we are making an effort to do with Solar Austin. And so the second project that we're working on is a place called the Children's Haven. The Children's Haven has been part of the Austin community for more than 70 years. And so to be able to take new technology to an existing organization within the community, and particularly an organization that's an African-American organization, it really highlights the inclusion of where we are trying to go with solar here in Austin. And that is saying that solar is available to any and everyone, and it is good for any and everyone. And so this installation project will enhance the things that they do in the community, the services they are able to provide in the community. And the building has been there forever, and it has hosted a various organizations through its time frame. But one of the things that it does right now, there's an organization in the building called the Threads. And Austin Threads is a place that provides accessories for foster care and homeless teens. And so I want you to just step back, if you could, just for a moment, and think about how we're going to have solar that is going to integrate with this organization to enhance their services that they provide in the community. But not only will it enhance the services they provide in the community, but it also provides what we call some sustainability there for this organization. And hopefully what we hope to see is the ripple effect, where other members of these communities who have traditionally have thought perhaps solar and renewable energy wasn't in their lane, understand that it is in their lane. And that also solar, Austin is an organization that will create these pathways for more communities to get involved. And so we are delighted to work in this arena. And also, if you know of any nonprofit organizations that may have their own facilities, we are always looking also, again, to expand the inclusion of individuals to be a part of this program. And again, I'd like to thank Mike, because I think, this is the foundation that they have built for this organization, because we wouldn't be here today having this conversation. And so, so we look forward to, again, having more individuals a part of this project. If you're looking for a place to volunteer, this is an opportunity for you to volunteer to some degree. But also, if you're looking for a place to have a conversation about an organization that has a hand-on approach about making a difference in a community, this is one. Because when you look at the activities that we're doing, it is beyond just talking about it. It is about putting our hands on something and making a difference. And I think that adds value, not only to Solar Austin, but it adds value to the community. It makes some of these underserved communities feel as though they are an important component of our society. And so I'm delighted that we are just beginning. We are just beginning. And when you look at the photo, you see, again, you see diversity there. And I think the thing that I love about who we are is, again, it's not something we talk about. It is something that we are. And so, and if you want to be a part of something that's beyond the conversation, right? If you want to be a part of something that's trying to actually improve the quality of life of individuals, this is an opportunity. And this solar installation project is a component of improving the quality of life of many folks here in Austin, Texas. And so we thank you for hanging out with us today.
Thanks, Kenneth and Stan. I think that was well put. We're planting the seeds, but most importantly, helping bring solar closer to those neighborhoods that didn't think they could have. And I think it's important to highlight that with these installations, we hope to create these resiliency centers. These centers that have solar, that have storage. This has been donated equipment. So if you're the owner of a solar company, have some 200 or 100 watt solar panels or something like that that's just sitting out there and can't be used, we welcome that as well, so we can think about replicating this in different locations. And so and speaking a little bit about the diversification of these installations and the access of low cost and resilient energy for different communities, then we can speak a little bit more about Pathways. And Pathways has been our flagship program as of the past 2 years. And this is how we provide these pathways and these opportunities for students that are passionate about solar and have an opportunity to diversify a little bit about what the solar industry is and what it looks like for tomorrow's and the next generation. So I'll let Tatiana speak a little bit more about it in conjunction with Andrea, to explain a little bit more about this program. So that I believe Tatiana wants to speak first, or not, Andrea, you can go. But I could be mistaken.
It is me. And
Yes.
I've got a slide up that you all can see. I once again continue to just be a conduit of excellence from others. So I'm only going to say a couple of words. Most of you have likely heard about our Pathways to Clean Energy Careers program. We started as a pilot with Houston-Tillotson University just a couple of years ago, less than that actually, and we have seen exponential growth. And that's because we know that this is what the industry needs, and we know that this is what the community needs. And so you can see some of our goals and our methods, and we'll share more with you about what's coming up. But I also want you to hear directly from those who have been a part of the program. So I don't know if Joshua has had to drop off, but I know we've got Alison with us today. Alison actually participated with our Pathways to Clean Energy Careers program. And I want to share her story with you all because really that's what it's all about. So I can talk to you about what our mission and vision is all day, but we invited Alison and Joshua to share a little bit about their experiences. So Alison, I think we've got you on. Can you confirm that you can hear and everyone can hear you okay?
Hi, can y'all hear me all right? I lost my headphones yesterday, so sorry about that.
You sound great to us, so no worries there. We can absolutely hear you. But Alison, if you want to take the floor, and Joshua, if you're still here, send me a chat. We can have you speak after Alison. But we invited Alison tonight. She's one of our all-stars who I believe was in the inaugural program pre my time. I'll let you share about it. We've got some other past attendees and participants in attendance as well. But I wanted Alison to share a little bit about her experience and where she is now, so we can give you a real life example of what Pathways is about. So Alison, take it over, girlfriend. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. And I warned there's like actual bells going off at UT, so sorry about that. But hello everyone, nice to meet you all and see you again. My name is Alison Vargas. I am currently attending UT School of Architecture as a community and regional planning graduate student. I heard about the Pathways program last summer by a social media flyer. From then on, I was luckily introduced to Beryl and the rest of the board at Solar Austin, where they molded my understanding of the program's origins and what it sought to accomplish. Programs like Pathways and its mission were essential to my transition to planning. It made the word equitable have meaning and opened up my understanding of what equity means in the US's transition to clean energy. I really want to be a part of the movement for cleaner and greener cities. And with my background in sustainability, the program made these academic topics and theories come to life through real experience, such as working for companies like 8 Minute Solar. The Pathways program introduced me to incredible people doing groundbreaking work who are very compassionate. And I don't think that without knowing them, I would have had the courage to go back to school with the foundation of keeping equity central to any solution that may impact communities that are being engaged with. I also learned that the clean energy industry is full of people that are interested in helping people enter the field. So I would definitely encourage anyone interested in solar to reach out, make connections, and go to events like these to learn from people's experiences. Because in my personal experience, everyone has been willing and friendly enough to share. And of course, I would like to thank the Solar Austin team and its donors for keeping this equitable and diverse program going. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alison. Y'all, I did not coach or prep her to give these remarks. I want to be extra clear about that. She's just a rock star. But thank you for sharing that experience and for sharing a little bit about what it meant to you. We talk about Pathways quite a bit, and I'm going to pass it to Andrea to talk about being a mentor. There are so many components of Pathways, and we continue to grow, but the biggest part, and the reason why I wanted you to meet Alison today, is that ultimately Alison is continuing to blaze a trail in renewable industry. And we know, and our research shows us, that within the renewables industry, inclusion and diversity continues to be a huge need. And those who really prioritize diversity and inclusion see greater outcomes, higher revenue, all of the things that are very intuitive to what a diverse workforce provides. But it takes a lot for us to get there. So not only do we as Solar Austin go through the process of vetting applicants, placing them with companies, continuing to provide ongoing education, whether that's diversity and inclusion related or just skills and job readiness related. But we also leverage mentors. So I think Andrea's on the call to share a little bit more about this. But stop me if I'm wrong, Andrea, if you are.
I'm here, and thanks, Allison, for sharing your experience about Pathways. I actually joined the Solar Austin board when I heard about Pathways, because I believe in, you know, really being a mentor and being menteed. I've gotten to where I am today thanks to all the mentors that I've had along my way in my career, and I really believe in that kind of, you know, being in the industry and sharing knowledge from above and from all different areas, right? And so I actually reached out to Catherine and was wondering, hey, you know, how can I be a volunteer? And you know, we started talking, and she said, well, join our board and then we'll get going. And so with that belief, you know, we've built this kind of mentorship program. We want to create a big network of mentors. And so the ask here is really, if you're in the clean energy industry, electric vehicles, solar, energy storage, anything, come join us as a mentor. And we will be having a new cohort of amazing students like Allison and TJ, who I see was in the call, and Josh, to, you know, continue growing the next generation of leaders in this industry. And so these are just some of the thoughts, you know, if you are in the industry, if you have an hour of your week to share with a student who's coming to the industry, join us. You know, we will have some training ability that we can share, but really it's just someone that, you know, wants to meet with the young generation and wants to learn what they're interested in and really help them kind of build that network. And so that's really what we're looking for with the mentorship program here at Pathways. So yeah, you can see, you know, where to sign up. And like I said, I mean, there's already amazing people volunteering for this, and we will be having a new cohort. So we will be pairing students with mentors. And yeah, hopefully we can grow this as much as we can so that people who are not in part of Pathways could be matched with a mentor, but we're not there yet because we really need, you know, your help as people in the industry to join us in this effort. So.
And Dre, if I can interrupt you really quick, I think that, you know, I wanted to speak a little bit about the personal experience and making sure that you don't need to be in the solar industry to be a mentor necessarily, right? It's best if you are, just so you can speak and give your perspective. But oftentimes when I've been a mentor, it's just kind of providing some advice or guidance on interviews, you know, like what are the right questions to ask? How do I create a resume? You know, those are the basic kind of patterns and resources that many students might not have. And so we want to provide that, and even better if they want to.
And I think we have a question from Jason.
Yes, sure. Yes. Hi, Jason.
Yeah, I do have a question about the mentorship program. What is the age range? Is it high school to college level? What is the age range for that you're looking for?
For students or for mentors?
For the mentor.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're in the industry and you're 18 years old, come, you know, if you're, I mean, really the idea is that you've been in the industry, and it really is not, you know, we're inclusive in age too, you know, if you've been for many decades or just starting and really believe in kind of like, hey, I'm also just starting, but I already have been menteed in this industry and I could share my knowledge, then that's perfectly fine. I mean, Allison could be a great mentor, right? She's already joined, you know, she's already, you know, she's starting grad school. She has some experience, but she would be an amazing mentor.
Yeah, so I want to note with that.
Also, I have one more comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the solar industry is just really broad. I mean, it's not just installation. There's so many different pathways and things that they can do in the industry. So.
Yeah, so I will speak to that. This is Tatiana talking. We somewhat intentionally, with a little bit of haphazardness, love the diversity of the industry, and in fact almost prefer matching with our interns with people a little bit outside of their area of expertise. So if our interns specifically request someone, say for machine learning or something like that, we'll definitely do our best to make that match. But oftentimes having someone that is within the industry, but maybe a bit adjacent, we find a lot of value to those mentorship matching. So regardless of the area of intersection with the industry, come one, come all. We welcome mentors. And for context, our interns are also matched across all areas and sectors of the industry, everything from engineering to marketing to business development. So regardless of the mentor's placement themselves, we can definitely really utilize that expertise. And so much about it is just about being able to provide that industry experience. I think it's really easy to forget what it feels like when you're starting off in a new role. And I think some of our Pathways interns, and why I wanted you to meet and see some of their faces tonight, is it wasn't so long ago that I was in my early 20s. I remember what it felt like to not be 100% sure of what was needed to be said in job interviews, what were some of the hot spots to avoid, things like that. So some of it's just practical life skills. Does that answer the question? It looks like we're getting some clarification. I wanted to also shout out Andrea for joining. Matt did this in the chat. She's phoning in from Hawaii. The dedication of our board and volunteers, I tell you, people. Okay, it looks like we had a response from, was it from James?
Jason.
This is the interpreter. I was only booked from 5:30 to 6:30, and I have another assignment that starts at 6:30, so I'm going to have to leave.
You are so okay.
Okay.
Thank you so much for
Thank
joining.
you, Shelby, for being with us and for
Thanks so
helping.
much.
Yeah.
So
Sorry
as
about
we
that.
are,
Bye.
no worries. As
Bye.
we are talking about pathways, I do also want to point out the slide you see in front of you right now, that for those of you directly connected within the solar industry, whether as individuals, as mentors, we also are working to recruit for our spring semester. So if you or someone in your company knows that you have a need for diverse internship representation within your company, here's some information about some upcoming events. Again, give us some info in the forms that we've been putting in the chat. We can share more details about these things coming up, but just wanted to go ahead and put these dates on people's radars so they knew what was upcoming. And with that, we have someone on the call today that has done so much work for Pathways. And speaking of the iterations of this organization, Beryl Dan, our program manager extraordinaire, as I have termed her, is moving on to maybe not greener. We love to think we've got the greenest pastures around, but moving on to fantastic new things. And she has been the face of the Pathways program literally since its inception. She has been the boots on the ground, communicating with our students, with our companies. You may have seen her in the chat at plenty of happy hours, facilitating these events. We are going to miss her sorely, but I wanted to give her a shout out before we concluded things tonight and before we got lost in the questions, because Beryl has truly been such an ace for us with our events, with our Pathways program, and with so much more that people will never even know and see. So we are sad to see her go, but we are so grateful for her service. And I wanted to highlight Beryl and all the work she's done for us. So Beryl, I think you're on the call if you wanted to say any hellos, goodbyes.
Hi, Chatia. Thank you so much. Just thank you all. It has just been amazing being with this Pathways program since its beginning, and it has grown so much. In the last year and a half, it's really crazy to think about, and a lot of that has to really do with the community partners. So this is just really another shout out for those who have time in a schedule to host an intern or to mentor a student. Really look into getting involved with this program, because it really can't be done without its community partners. And just a big thank you, big thank you to Solar Austin and the Solar Austin board for everything they've done in the last few years and working tirelessly and everything they're going to be doing. It has been a pleasure working alongside y'all. And I'm so excited to see what's in store.
Yeah.
Back at you, Tatiana.
We're so grateful for you, Beryl. So much of the work that you see us talk about, and we talk about all those early years and all of the different programs that we've grown, talk about accelerated scaling would be our Pathways programs, our events, and all of that is thanks to Beryl. So honestly, in terms of Pathways and in putting a bow on things, I've been doing my best to answer some questions in the chat. We've been compiling questions. We do have ways. This is a QR code for you all to use to sign up on that volunteer form that I have also dropped in the chat. We've talked about a lot of things, and we've got a little less than 10 minutes left to cover some questions. So we've done some celebrating, we've done some reflecting and some looking back. We'd love to hear from you. What questions do you have? What other ways can we be helping? And at Solar Austin board, let me know if there's anything that we missed in these last few minutes.
I think we'll leave it for questions for now, and then we can wrap it up with any closing remarks. I do want to, if Beryl is still on the call, to kind of give that shout out, because she was, not just the seed planter for hundreds of students to get our Pathways program started, but also to give that pulse of the organization before you came along. So that's a little bit of the transition, and really appreciate that pulse and that life that you provided, Beryl, for the organization. Very much excited to see what else is in store. But huge appreciation for making our Pathways program, our events program, all these other committees kind of stand up with 2 feet, so that we can take it up and start walking and start running. So thank you. Does anybody else have any other questions about the committees that we mentioned, or opportunities to get involved? Or, I mean, it's kind of like open floor, so feel free to unmute yourself and let us know what you're thinking. Or not thinking. Maybe we're just quiet today.
I do just want to reiterate, thank you to Beryl. I have been especially impressed with her kind of care and enthusiasm as she has interacted with all of the students throughout the last few semesters of this program. And, whatever you do next, I think that I hope you carry that with you and can pass that kind of enthusiasm on to other people, because I do see that as just one of the kind of gems that you were offering to everybody you dealt with. So thank you.
Hey, and I have to say to Beryl, thank you. Thank you for the seeds that you have planted. And then not only just planted, but also the ones that you've helped cultivate, and so you have been a highlight for me as in this program. And thank you for being a pathway for so many of our interns. And so thank you very much. And I wish you absolutely the best in the future. Peace and love to you, my friend.
We love the Beryl love.
Yeah.
We love it. She is just a pearl, as you all know, and as you all have seen that attend our happy hours. We did have a question come through from Rick asking about the mentoring process and how it works, the first steps, etc. So the first steps are filling out the form that I will link again in just a moment. And from there, it's honestly very casual. It involves me reaching out to you to find out a little bit about your interests and who you are, fill in any gaps from the form that you filled out, and then introducing you to your mentee. And you kind of take it from there. It truly is an informal partnership, and that we hope that it bears a lot of fruit, but it is not something that we view as a big time commitment or a big energy commitment. It's just about being a resource, really. Andrea, did I miss anything you think is pertinent to say there?
No, I think you captured it right. It's really just yeah, first step is sign up, and then we'll take it from there to kind of pair you with the student. And it really is kind of just, I don't know if you've ever done Big Brother, Big Sisters or any sort of, like just meet with them, talk. You can talk anywhere from, how you got to where you are, or maybe you might have some hobbies. I don't know. You can talk whatever you want in those 30 minutes and really start introducing, what has been helpful to you as you become part of the industry and just a professional. Really, to Juan's point, it really is not just about being in the clean energy industry, but how do you become that professional that really thrives and becomes a leader?
Yeah, and I think of course, if you're interested in mentoring, it's really exciting. But also, if you know of somebody that wants to get in, don't let it be a barrier. So like, hey, they're specific to, I don't know, software development, or they're specific to machine learning or anything. Solar is such a wide enough sector, and we can use our networks to find the right mentor for that person. It's just that because the industry is so new, it's just blooming, there aren't enough published opportunities out there. So that's kind of what we aspire to do with Alliance, is, whether it's women in renewable energy technologies or just, the national organizations, we really want to create and cultivate this network of talent and youth, because there is a lot of work to be done. And I think that, I'll finish it up, since we have 3 more minutes, but we all hear the news about Hurricane Ida, and we all hear the news about, these evacuations in California of the largest wildfires. And we all hear the news of what we're feeling because it's the hottest summer in the month again. And we all know that, climate change is a reality and we have to do something about it. Now, solar is one of those tools that we know that it's already been proven. We know that, with the emergence of storage is making it possible for people to guarantee that they have resilient power, which is one of the basic things for our society to survive. There's food, energy, and water. And I think that there's very little that we can do, whether it's volunteering with one of our committees, or of a lot that we can do, such as actually working for this industry full time, that can make us feel like we are rewarded, and it can make us feel part of this change, and not a change for us, but a change for our neighbors and change for our children. And I think that's a little bit of what we hope to do. And it gives me a little bit of shivers to think about where this organization was 20 years ago, and to hear Mike's story and think about these 10 passionate individuals that came together. They talked to the mayor, they said, hey, we need 5 megawatts of solar by the airport. They didn't come together, but it can come together tomorrow. It can come together in the next 10 or less years, because we need it, and it's inexpensive. And so I really want to invite you to take a moment, find out how much time you can donate to work with us. We're ready to kind of get going on the second iteration with all these different initiatives, and we can't do it alone. And that's one of the best things about the solar industry, is that we rely on one another. We help each other do something bigger than ourselves. So I do see that Stan has a question, but I really want to appreciate you guys' time this August afternoon to join us and to stay in touch with us as we continue to share these happy hours. So Stan, I'll let you add any closing remarks or any questions you might have.
Yeah, thanks, Juan. And I just, as you were talking, and I saw a comment from Matt that was nice. It seems like Solar Austin is organized, and I'll say from my perspective, just kind of starting in 2011 till now, it's really gratifying to be part of a group that is as committed and organized as we are. And I want to underscore that at the same time, we are absolutely making this up, and where we go from here is really fully reliant and depends on unique contributions. We've grown as a board. It's not just people in solar, and ideas that have come from outside our industry are pushing this into new realms, and that's what's really exciting. So, and I would say this is a live project as an organization, as a community. All the efforts you're seeing here we're responding to what the community is interested in. Every happy hour is a way to get feedback. Every volunteer that comes in and contributes their time and energy, expertise, curiosity, it moves the ball forward. And so, Mike's story from the very beginning started with a big idea, but I think there's complexity in that idea. And as we unfold this moving forward, this is not a master plan. I want to stress, it's an inventive, creative work, and it has to be organized to stay together. But we're absolutely open to ideas from really all corners. And I've been in the industry a long time, and this is really the most exciting time to see contributions coming from outside the industry that are pushing it not just forward, but deeper, into our lives, into our communities. And I think Solar Austin is just a small snapshot, but it's part of what's making this an exciting transition. So, but that was it. Juan, you kind of prompted me, and I think it's
That's what we
been
do.
a good time to reflect in that way.
That's what we do. We just talk about it and we realize, yeah, everything this hasn't been done before. We're carving out the path, and this is how it can be an effective solution, from what it is that we need and how it is that we can make it happen with the resources we have. So well put. I don't know if anyone else has any questions, but feel free to stay in touch with us, social media, email, LinkedIn, let's continue to make this change happen and work together to provide this organization and our community in Austin a little bit more solar. So thank you guys all. And we'll stay in touch for the September iteration of the happy hour, which would be for our sponsors most likely. So thank you, and have a great rest of the evening. Appreciate everyone's time and message.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.